Opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum, brought to you by... Get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Treasure Coast Forum on 1450 AM. I'm your host, Reese Gabbett, and I'm here with a full house today.
We are indeed.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I guess we should go down the line
Yeah, I
and
think
make
we
sure
should.
everybody gets announced.
Sam Crombie, Martin County High School.
I'm Daniel from South Fork.
I'm Nicole from South Fork High School.
I'm Osiris from South Fork High School.
Wow. So South Fork is representing. Okay.
Yeah, we always
All
do.
right. Okay. Yeah.
She's better than county everywhere.
Yeah, not wrong there, buddy.
Except football.
Proofs in the pudding.
Okay. So the elephant in the room, right? Last week we talked about the school results. That's what we've been talking about off air. But we should let our listeners know because they're interested and they've been following the story.
Yeah.
All right. And then we got to talk about local news. So let's share that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone get out their notebooks, their pencils, pens for the tomorrow's headline. Yeah, so I applied to Dartmouth, early decision, got deferred, but I ate a couple of cheeseburgers and we're good to go.
All
I
right.
mean, you're still in the
Explain
game.
for our listeners what deferred means because
Right.
a lot of us don't know if we're not in that whole arena.
So if you apply to a college early, whether it's through early action or early decision, binding or non-binding, you can either be accepted, deferred, or rejected. If you're accepted, clearly you're accepted. If you're rejected, your application is not considered any further. But if you're deferred, your application is considered in the regular decision pool, as opposed to the early decision pool. So my application will still be considered, but for now it's it's a middle place.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, me and Sam are in the same boat. Same thing happened to me for University of Georgia. So,
You got deferred as well.
yes, I did.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than being denied.
That's true.
Right.
But I mean, also the anticipation. Sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta just know you're not in right
Right.
away. Because then when you build up that anticipation over time again, it might
Yeah,
make the ending worse.
it's tough, but it also motivates you.
Right.
So far we're 0 for 2, but I have a feeling that may change in a positive direction over the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah. Good.
hopefully.
And
Oh,
Nicole,
going
what's
Yeah, so I applied early decision to Swarthmore College, and I thought I'd be finding out last Friday, but it turns out I'll be finding out tomorrow at 7 p.m. Yeah. So I could either get accepted, deferred, or rejected to Swarthmore College.
Were you just unclear about when it came out, or did they change it?
In the past years, it's come out Friday the 8th and Friday the 9th. So they never officially said when it was coming out. I just kind of assumed it would be Friday the 7th, like continuing with the same trend. But instead, I got an email saying it was coming out tomorrow night. So, yeah.
all right?
Too easy.
Yeah.
Cross our fingers. Okay. And
Osiris, what about you?
I've applied to the College of William and Mary in Virginia.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
they're not going to get back to me until January, but even if they don't take me, I've gotten accepted to Stetson already. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Woo!
1 for 3.
all right.
What about you, Daniel?
I have confirmed my confirmed my acceptance to UCF.
Yay.
Yeah.
2 for 4. That average is getting up there.
All right. Very
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So some local news we should report.
Oh,
I apologize for that.
Exciting local news.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's destiny.
Right.
Destiny's
All
on
right.
the
So
phone.
local news: a jewelry store robbery ends with one person shot in Jensen Beach today. That happened this afternoon.
We're in Jensen.
It's this is courtesy of TC Palm. Martin County Sheriff William Snyder, seen in front of the Treasure Coast Liquidators Jewelry Store, makes his way to the news conference where he shared details of a robbery, car crash, and subsequent manhunt that ended with the capture of one suspect, the hospitalization of another suspect today, Thursday, December 13th, in the Granada Plaza in Jensen Beach. Snyder said both were teenagers from Fort Lauderdale in a stolen vehicle.
Uh-oh.
One suspect was captured and is cooperating with investigators, while the second suspect was in extremely grave and life-threatening condition this afternoon. So
Teenagers.
Teenagers from Fort Lauderdale.
Teenagers are crazy.
What are they doing all the way up here?
Bad things.
Yeah.
Probably trying to get the stolen car away from the owner.
Yeah.
Probably.
Something like that.
So what do you do after you steal a car? You go and rob a
Martin
jewelry store in
Exactly.
Martin County. Yes.
It's also really sad.
Two negatives.
I
They
thought that
cancel
went
out.
without saying.
So
Isn't Martin County like more strict about like punishments than any more like other counties
this is,
surrounding us?
this is not the place you want to come to
Yeah,
do
that's what I
bad
heard.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But granted, no matter where you try and rob a jewelry store, like you're going to get
Probably
a pretty
has some
severe
punishment,
punishment.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
just icing on the cake.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's local news. So US one was snarled up considerably
And when was this?
this afternoon. I don't
Oh,
have a
okay.
specific time,
Yeah.
but it was, after 1:00 and
Yeah.
before now.
Yeah.
So sometime during the afternoon. And anyways, but it was interesting. I know there was a lot of more questions than answers a lot of folks had. So if you were stuck in traffic on US 1 this afternoon in the northbound lanes, that's the reason why.
Just
So,
two teenagers from Fort Lauderdale.
right. So, yes.
Ah.
All right. So, Nicole, you wanted to talk about the award that was given to journalists, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, a group of journalists that they're calling the Guardians was named Times Person of the Year. And the group of journalists included Jamal Khashoggi, who
Mhm.
was the columnist for the Washington Post that was recently
Right.
murdered in Saudi Arabia. It also included two journalists who were reporters for Reuters and were in Myanmar reporting on some kind of conflict. I don't know the exact name right now, but they've been in prison in Myanmar. And also a journalist from the Philippines who was put in jail because of her outspoken words, I guess, about the increasingly totalitarian Philippine government.
Okay. All right. So four
Yeah.
people.
Oh,
are,
and one more. Sorry, there was a group
fifth
of.
person.
I think it was actually a group of journalists from the Capital Gazette,
Okay.
which last June 5 people got shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was in France, right?
No, the Capital Gazette is a
the
newspaper right outside of Washington, D.C.
That one. Yeah. There was
Yeah.
the other shooting. It was years ago. Yeah.
So I think it says a lot about, like, I feel like right now, in the era we're in America and other places as well, journalists are being increasingly criticized. You hear all the time about fake media, fake news. So journalists are kind of increasingly under threat, but like at their core, journalists are meant to protect the truth. So it kind of goes against what everybody's saying about them. But I think it says a lot that Time Magazine named this group of journalists as their Person of the Year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was their person last year? I forget.
I think it was the Me Too movement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
But and then another thing too, the United States Senate, I believe, passed that we wouldn't spend any more for the military in Saudi Arabia. And part of that was because of Jamal Khashoggi murder. So I think the fact that Time possibly named as the Person of the Year continued the social pressure that was put on our government to make some kind of statement. So,
Right.
That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out when that gets to Trump's desk.
mhm.
Well, it was just a Senate. It wasn't. What is like a pronouncement? So it doesn't mean it's just something that the senators.
It's not a piece of legislation.
From my understanding, it passed like 51-43 something.
Right,
Yeah.
but it did. But legislation should start in the House and then Senate and then signed by the president. But this is merely, I think, more of a pronouncement of what the Senate feels about this particular issue,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's binding in any way. So
Gotcha.
it's just a group of senators. This is what they're thinking. So that's my read on it. Also, the Town Hall magazine talks about a federal judge wants more information. Now, this is the federal judge that is part of the sentencing for General Flynn because he pled guilty for lying to the FBI. Now, evaluating the story, they come to find out that there was kind of a shady meeting and the FBI forced Flynn into a conversation that he really wasn't prepared to have. And he merely agreed to lying in order to stop the bleeding because of this enormous financial expense in trying to defend himself. So, It was, but so the federal judge is looking at the way the shady meeting the FBI used in order to convict or General Flynn. So he is evaluating that before he renders his decision. Because the Justice Department also last week came out and said that they're recommending through Mueller's team that no time be served for Flynn. So they already say, well, all right, we really didn't do anything wrong, is what they're saying. So now the judge is saying, okay, well, maybe we ought to just throw this out. So I think that's where that's going.
Well, the main issue that it said the judge was taking with it was that the FBI agents did not warn him that it would be a lie. It would be a crime to lie to the FBI agents, which is common sense, but that's also like they didn't Mirandize him. So technically he could claim he wasn't aware of his rights.
All right. Okay. All right. So that's kind of important. I mean, we even Mirandize folks that aren't even citizens.
Yeah.
So, okay. So at least, a 30-year general veteran of our armed forces that should receive no less consideration, right?
Everything okay?
Oh, I'm just playing with my buttons here.
Yeah.
I got a light on. I'm trying to turn off, but
Yeah.
no success. So it's all right. Let's see now.
Oh, Frank.
Yes.
Remember a few weeks ago we were talking about the whole internet situation at all Martin County schools?
Yes. What's the latest on that?
Yeah. So anybody else want to give a quick summary about that? I was kind of talking about it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So basically, an IT person in the district, or it was at a school board meeting, I think, they got an email from a business that they thought was legit. So they clicked on like a link and it downloaded a file. And then so it spread at that meeting, and then everyone left to the schools, and then that brought the bug to every school.
The meeting consisted of the principals of the three Martin County high schools.
Right.
Yeah,
As
so-
soon as they step into their buildings, their Wi-Fi or their system networks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was really bad at the end of like last week and the weeks before. The Wi-Fi is back up though, but I'm still not too.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was
Not too
really
sure.
skeptical over their emails and their account passwords, and
Right.
all of a sudden just Wi-Fi is back up and nobody's talking about it. So it'd be nice to think that everything was resolved, but nobody's.
Nothing's come out in explanation to the student body or teachers or
Nobody explained anything in the first place.
No,
Right.
There was an email sent out to the teachers for like everyone in the district
Mhm.
that said that it was a student that brought home a laptop. So
But that wasn't the case.
that wasn't no.
And then they announced over like our loudspeakers that no students were allowed to use their school given laptops, and they warned us not to use the Wi-Fi. So I mean, we were aware that there was a bug going on, but nobody explained to us like the background of it.
right.
Except for a few teachers kind of had a few discussions with us about it.
Mhm.
And that's where we got the information that we
Right.
were talking about the other week.
Now, has this information been in the newspapers or any other media? It's not totally undiscussed.
But it's especially scary for us
Yeah.
right now because we're all working on our college applications. And like, I don't know about anybody else, but like I work on mine at school sometimes, and my social security information is in there. I have information about my tax stuff or financial aid. We have friends who are not citizens who have their green card in their computer. Like there's a lot of information that could get out that would be
Mhm.
dangerous.
The one
Alright.
thing that a lot of teachers have taken the time to tell us after what happened with the virus is making sure that you're clearing the cache on the computer after you're done using a school computer so that it saves none of your personal information. But obviously that doesn't help on your like personal laptops that
Yeah.
are connected to the
All right.
Wi-Fi.
So for our listeners that are uninitiated, when you clear the cache, that doesn't mean that there's money on top of
No.
your laptop. Okay.
No. Cache is just it's CACHE. It's it's information when you're in like on a certain internet browser.
Okay.
You just go into the
It's
settings.
like
and
it's in a temporary memory mode, right? It's not
Yeah.
stored to permanent memory.
no, it's just stored on the browser.
Right.
Like if
Okay.
if you close a browser and you go back on it and your search results are
It
there.
remembers where you were last.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you could always go in the settings. If you're like on Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer, you can go in the settings and clear that.
Okay.
There should be
All right.
just a
So it's spelled cache,
Cache, yeah.
but it's pronounced cache. Okay. Got it. Okay. So, but we still don't know. And we hope that everything's been straightened out, right?
yeah.
They probably debugged it, ran an antivirus program, and cleaned.
We hope so,
cleared
because the
it out.
Wi-Fi was back up the week after we talked about it. Then nobody mentioned it again.
I mean, and there's also like a lot of flaws. Even when the internet is working, there's a lot of flaws with like our access to different programs.
Mhm.
So like we use Google a lot for a lot of our like documents, like Google Docs, Google Slides for presentations. Yet on a lot of the district computers, when we're signed into our accounts, we can't even access Google Docs. And on our own devices, we can't access Google Docs or any of the things that we need to be able to access. So like, and it's been like that for many years. So even if it does get corrected, there's still a lot of things that like we can't do with our Wi-Fi. So yeah.
All right. So we need somebody who's graduating with a good IT understanding to stay in Martin County and not leave the and resolve this problem right within the school system, right? So there's some pretty sharp IT kids. I mean, they could probably fix this problem.
Oh yeah. We're always like there are simple ways to fix these problems. It's not like rocket science. You don't need a degree, a computer science degree from MIT to figure out what's going on.
Right.
But of course, that's not what we can really ask of our technicians in our district who seem to not know what they're doing.
Wow. All right. Wow.
While we're on the topic of Martin County schools, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a lot of kids that a lot of my friends and my mom, even because she has a student, has been talking about it. One of the kids at South Fork, her name is Rachel Lovelace. She dropped out of the IB program, which is at South Fork. She wants to stay at South Fork, but they're trying to make her leave, which is weird because in this county, we have school choice. So Martin County, South Fork, or Jensen, as long as you're in Martin County, you can choose to go to any of them.
Right.
And for some reason, they're not allowing her to stay at South Fork.
Is she in Martin County? Does she live in?
She lives in Martin County. She's zoned for Martin County. And the guidance counselor is basically just saying like, all right, your schedule at county is ready to go. Go pick it up. And she's like, no, I want to stay at South Fork.
Yeah, her school choice form basically was rejected. So I think the school choice program is relatively new. But prior to that, you were able to go to South Fork because of your involvement in the IB program. But having dropped, she still assumed that she'd be able to stay because of the school choice program. But her application for the school choice program to attend South Fork was rejected, even though she's been going to South Fork for 3 years now. She's been in AP classes for a whole semester, and she's a stellar student. So it's absolutely ridiculous. But I've encouraged her, and a lot of the teachers have encouraged her to go speak at the school board meeting next Tuesday.
I was just going to suggest the very
and she's
same
got a
thing,
team of her friends going. Teachers are going to go and speak on behalf of her.
She'll
There's a
get
lot
straightened
that's still in
out.
the works, and there's no concrete decision been made. But yeah.
I think going before the school board and airing that out, and then once they clearly understand the
Right.
scope of the issue, I'm sure
Right.
it can be easily resolved.
What is their reasoning for trying to get her?
We don't know for sure.
They just said that there was no room for her, but that doesn't make any
It doesn't
sense
make
because
any
she's
sense.
already in the classes that she needs to be in. So she'd just be continuing that semester.
Is
like
she a
anyone
senior or is
else.
she a junior?
She's a junior.
So they're trying to get her out for next semester?
They're
Mhm.
trying to get her out for next
That doesn't
semester.
make any sense.
Yeah, like after winter break, she'd come back at county.
But I'm excited to see how the school board will react to her actually going and speaking to them and rallying up a bunch of students to go speak to them. Because hopefully they'll, take some initiative and change the decision if any decision had actually been made.
And that school board meeting is scheduled for.
It is this coming Tuesday at 4 p.m.
All
Or
right.
no, excuse me, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. is just the school employees, but 5 p.m. is open to the public.
So
That's when she'll
anybody
be
wants
able
to
to
go
speak.
down there and
Be there,
Yeah.
be
help her out,
square.
yeah.
Very good. So that means Thursday you can come here and give us a full report.
Yes,
Exactly.
I'll report on it.
Awesome.
All right. And there is in France, you heard about the Christmas
Market.
shooting.
Mm-hmm.
The gunman who unleashed the massacre at Christmas market in France
Has died.
is now reported dead, reports say. So
Did he take his own life? Does it say?
I think there was a shootout again. He was shot during that market shooting the other day,
Mhm.
and injured. And whether or not I don't believe he succumbed to those injuries. I think there were additional injuries that
Yeah.
were preyed upon him. So, but yeah, so that was that happened today, and
That's also interesting how that ties into the entire protesting crisis that's going on right now in France and in Paris in response to policies by the French government
right.
in terms of like taxation and their contribution. I think it's to the Paris Climate Accords.
Right. So the president of France had levied some rather harsh taxes to the middle class, for things like fuel. So it costs them about $7 a gallon. So when you fuel up here right now, if you fuel up at BJ's, right, and you buy 2 items that are on their special list, your gas will cost you this weekend. I think you're looking at maybe spending like $1.85, something like that. $1.80. So they're spending $7 a gallon for fuel. And there's other taxes, other ancillary carbon taxes that are being, pressured upon these people. And they go, look at, we're working all these jobs just to, eat and forget about heating your home. That's not possible either with these carbon taxes. So yeah, they're pretty upset. And so now he's rolled back the taxes, but he still has a financial shortfall because he was counting on those taxes to pay their bills. So where that money's going to come from, where they say, well, we're going to just tax the rich a little bit more. Yeah, so how that's going to, but the rich just seem to either leave town or find tax loopholes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I noticed our gas prices have dropped significantly.
Right. And one of the reasons for that is the United States' production of oil is increased dramatically to the point now we are now an oil exporter.
So,
which is interesting, which drives the price down, and there's a couple dynamics going on with that. That's a 50-year program, by the way. They went through several administrations to get to this moment. This has got very little to do with this current administration, although this current administration is supportive of where we're at. It's taken all the previous administrations to get where we're at.
Yeah.
Right. And over the past 50 years. So what does that mean? So that means Russia, anything under $49 a barrel, it hurts Russia. Russia is the gas station for Europe, basically. All right. And they can't make money if it's if the price of oil drops under $49 a barrel. And it's right around that now, just about 50, 51. 40, it's 49, 48. So it's been bubbling around through there. And that just makes the Russians very unhappy. And the oligarchs are not making money and the government doesn't make any money. So that'll be interesting. And Europe is already kind of going through an economic downturn of their own. And this is not going to help Russia. Then we got the Brexit thing going on, but we got to take our break. So
opinions expressed.
No opinions. When we come back, we're going to find out some more what's going on with Brexit too. So stick with us. All right, now it's time for today's Southeast AgNat Report, which is brought to you by Everglades Farm Equipment, a family-owned business for the past 50 years with 10 Florida locations, including Fort Pierce, Okeechobee, and Loxahatchee. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. You're listening to Treasure Coast Forum here on the Treasure Coast, of course.
Of course.
And we've got Bob on the line. How you doing?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, ho, ho, ho. Yes, indeed.
All Americans and even some Dems from the island of their misfit boys, which, is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer island.
Oh, okay, yes. So what's bubbling up?
Getting ready for Christmas, getting ready to head up to the nation's vacation, the world's vacation capital.
New Jersey, right?
Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Actually, my parents lived right near Princeton, so a
very
little
good.
better in Trenton.
Okay.
Where they know in Trenton, when you're going to do a robbery of a jewelry store or anywhere,
Yeah.
you always steal a car. You don't use your mom's Prius.
Yeah. It's probably very wise. Yeah.
But I mean, fuel efficient at least.
Yeah, but it's hard to get away from the cops in one of those things.
I guess.
How you guys doing?
Okay.
We're all doing okay.
Solid. 7 out of 10.
Hey, the new president of Mexico says he's going to build a better wall on his southern border.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess when they think they're just passing through and going to shove them into us, it's okay. But now that Trump's kind of squawking about that. Now they want a better border on their southern wall. And like you said, Frank, they have that one bridge there everybody seems to need to go over. And,
Right.
And it was kind of strange that they went, like, they didn't want to go through Texas, which, so they went like across, and then they went down to Tijuana expecting to get through.
Right.
And,
Well,
I used to go down when I lived in California. I used to go down all the time on trips. I would drive all the way 1,250 miles to all the way down to the end of the Baja Peninsula sometimes. And I wouldn't do that trip today. I mean, with the cartels and everything, even the Baja, the peninsula is not safe anymore.
hmm
But they were talking. I heard Tom Sullivan today earlier on your sister station, 1590, and he was asking. He had all these clips he played of Obama and Hillary and Schumer, etc., talking about, we need barriers, we need walls, we need to vet these people. They can't just come in here. And he said, well, what changed? And I'm thinking, I know what changed. They thought they had perpetual power going after Obama got in office, and especially when they knew his numbers for winning a second term were huge. They didn't want added. They thought they had the perpetual power, enough votes for life. They thought Hillary was going to follow 8 years of Obama. They didn't want any more problems like Mexico doesn't want now. And so, they thought, well, remember they owned the whole all of DC at one time. They didn't pass any of that stuff, So, now what's changed is, guess what? They need more votes. Hillary didn't win. Trump won. He wasn't supposed to win. So they're going to do, whatever they have to do to make sure that they get more votes that they need. And the African Americans apparently and they swung a lot towards Trump, I guess because of the economy, which is a great thing.
yes. Okay. Very good.
Hey, I would like to ask the kids something.
All
I
right.
heard the other day.
We don't have a lot of headphones, so okay, go ahead.
The other day, I heard that Martin County, 50% of the kids in Martin County are on free lunch, free or reduced.
At just Martin County High School or in the entire county?
They said it's just mentioned the entire county.
Yeah, that would be the county system. Okay.
I never understood that to begin with because, I know some people that work at Walmart and you get a pretty good EBT card. I mean, it's amazing that a lot of times they could spend that kind of money on food. Why don't they make bag lunches, if you're on EBT or on welfare? I lived in a really nice place and I always got bag lunches. I would rather have the hot lunch, But it kind of surprised me that Martin County and we heard Niebuhr saying how Martin County, a lot of the county is so rich. It's one of the richest counties in the whole country, actually, with Jupiter Islands included in that,
right,
and everything else. That now they're like the state is asking them to kind of, take care of everybody else and other parts of the state.
Yeah.
But why? I was surprised by that. That
It's
50% of Martin County.
I don't know, paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just a paperwork issue.
Yeah, and it's not all just free. Like there's also the reduced part. So
there's free or reduced.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there's still some people that make enough or that are on welfare that can't afford like that much more. So they get just like a few dollars just to help out.
I was wondering if it was like when I used to go into the office, if I'd take one of my kids to the doctor or get him out early for a surprise for something. Every time I went into the school office here in Port St. Lucie, they were trying to shove free lunch down my throat. I said, look, I feed what I breed. Leave me alone with this. After a few times, I was like, what's the deal here? And then guy off to the side heard them trying to push the free lunch. They said, everybody qualifies. Just sign it. And he says, come here. He says, guess what? He says, the more people we have on free and reduced lunch, the more candy money we get from the federal government from DC. So it's like an earmark.
I don't think everybody applies to free lunch.
No, you can only even be eligible for free lunch if you make below a certain amount. And I think it definitely has to do with the federal poverty line. It's not
Yeah.
not everybody
Well, you know
qualifies
how-
for free lunch, and they don't advertise it as if everybody's eligible.
I think the important thing.
Well, every
to
time
keep-
I walked into the office, they advertised it and they told me, "Don't worry, you'll qualify." You know the government; they don't check up on these things. If you file for it, you're probably going to get it.
Yeah. I think the important thing to keep in mind when you're looking at the statistics, at least, is even though obviously some people in Martin County are very wealthy, a lot of kids that are going to the high schools, like specifically South Fork, I know of, are from Indiantown and a lot of other more impoverished and rural areas. So that's going to really drive up the statistics of how many kids need that help. So that may be what you're seeing.
Yeah, but usually those that are getting that free lunch or reduced lunch, or actually mostly free lunch, they are on welfare and EBT. And I've heard the numbers that these cards, the balances from people I know that work at places like Walmart, and it's amazing. I can't believe how much money they give these people per month.
Right.
You know, for a couple kids that are on welfare.
Well, you got different
it's
agencies.
extraordinary.
Right. So you got federal programs, state agencies. You got a lot of different agencies kind of all serving the same general public. So I think there's some overlap there. But you raise a very good point, and there probably needs to be better coordination between agencies so that everybody can be served to their best of their needs. So I think
one
that's
time,
everybody's goal.
My one son used to overuse. We used to charge he had like a card that we would pay into,
Yeah.
and he would use that like a debit card.
Hmm.
And he overwent his limit by a lot of like desserts and stuff or something. And he went up to get his lunch one day, and he had like a zero balance. So you know what they gave him?
What's that?
They gave him a little thing of milk and bread with cheese on it,
Nice.
like bread and water, like
Okay, I've
he's in
gotten
prison.
that
I'm
once.
like,
Yeah.
here, we're paying for his lunch, and the one day he has no balance, they give him a prison meal.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever had one of those cheese sandwiches, but they're pretty good.
There you go.
Can't go wrong
Oh,
with
it's-
cheese and bread.
Well, then we should give it to them, all those people, every day,
There you
and or their parents can make a bag lunch like our parents used to make
Yeah.
out of that EBT money that they're getting, because it's getting out of hand, I think.
All right. Well, you raise a very good point, Bob. All right. We're going to take our last break, but we thank you for calling. And
Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas.
everyone, and
All
Happy New Year.
Okay, buddy.
Merry
All right,
Christmas.
take care. All right, stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back, everybody, to WSTU, the Treasure Coast Forum. And we are here for our third and final session. And
yeah,
I know.
And you don't have to. You didn't dash out, so you don't have to go to work.
I know.
Wow.
They didn't. I don't have work this Thursday,
Hey,
so
all right.
here for the full
This
show.
is this is a rare achievement
I know, yeah.
for us here. Yeah,
And I
very
know,
good.
Osiris, you wanted to talk about something?
So this Wednesday, something kind of big happened. Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's lawyer, he was arrested, and now he's sentenced to 36 months in prison for $1.2 million in tax evasion and for lying about his role in paying off
Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels.
Yes.
Yes, using campaign finances.
Right.
So that's a thing that happened this week.
Interesting update.
Yes.
Thank you.
The big question now is whether or not Trump will be implicated in this. A lot of what I'm seeing sort of points to they won't be able to get any information on Donald Trump from Michael Cohen, just because since he's his lawyer, they have that sort of attorney-client confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that might trip up Donald Trump is that his tweets, once again with his Twitter, he said on Twitter, and since that's all public record, he can't delete them because he's the president, that he did all the illegal activities under the direction of his lawyer. So if that turns out to be false, then his attorney-client confidentiality is basically forfeit, because then the prosecution has the right to cross-examine Michael Cohen in court, and then they can ask him any question he wants. So as long as Donald Trump's telling the truth, obviously he's fine. But if not, then it's going to be a huge problem for the president.
So interestingly enough, this whole argument goes back to Trump had complained that during the Obama term in office that there was a $2 million fine placed against the Obama Re-election Committee. I don't know if you remember, there was a $2 million fine by the agency that does the oversight for that. And it was basically the way the money is handled. It was so campaign finance was an issue. So that was the same argument. So instead of going after then President Obama, they just merely went after the election committee, find the group, the business entity, and then it was problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
So why they're making it personal, going after an individual, is what the president is saying. And then so that's kind of an interesting side argument. The other argument that he made is that out of all the sitting Congress men and women, there's a slush fund in Congress to pay individuals settlements of taxpayer money, which is kind of fun, kind of an interesting thing.
Congress just voted to, I don't know what to call it, to discontinue that. So now if any congressman is accused of sexual assault or any sort of allegation, all that defense money is coming out of their own pockets, not the taxpayer.
We're talking millions of dollars that have been spent. I believe, I may be wrong, but the number is like $17 million. It's not chump change. It's significant amount of money that's been paid out to different individuals for non-disclosure that for similar complaints, right?
That's a considerable amount of money. I mean, that kind of begs the question: how many politicians are committing sexual assault?
Quite a few.
Or being accused
I
of
mean,
it.
there's many politicians, and this is what the president's saying. It's like, look at, you guys got a slush fund that you set up for yourselves that taxpayers have to finance. You get to do wrong things, and it's okay. Well, we just pay it out of the slush fund, and the problem goes away. Not very cool.
No.
So
Not epic.
no.
Really glad they got rid of that.
Yeah. Well, and it should have happened. And ironically, years ago, this same conversation came up, and they supposedly voted to get rid of that, but apparently it never happened.
Really?
Yes. Yes. So this is not the first time this conversation's come up. So interesting. It's just fun stuff. Fun never ends.
We always have something to talk about.
Yes. And of course, across the pond, Prime Minister Theresa May, she survived her no confidence vote despite the Brexit chaos. And So, but she also went on to say that she's pretty confident that she will not be the next prime minister during the next election, representing the Conservative Party. She doesn't want to be the representative for the Conservative Party during this whole Brexit thing.
Yeah, I don't blame her. I mean,
it's well, and it's really fascinating because the people in the outlying areas, kind of like the Rust Belt, the people that voted for Trump, okay, and then the people in London would be like New York and L.A., the same voting groups, you know. So the local Londoners would have voted for not against Brexit. It was all the outlying people that voted for Brexit, and so the vote passed. But seems like the British government is unable to coalesce an understanding as to how to best unravel their relationship with the EU. So
I think also it's, mainly because, Theresa May was placed into a position she didn't want to be in,
right,
arguing for something she didn't want to argue for.
Right.
And now, after 3-4 years of negotiations, she's still in the position she never wanted to be in, arguing for the thing that she never wanted to argue for. And so I think that maybe more progress would have been made with the European Union and Great Britain if there was a leader in place who was motivated to support Brexit and maybe was open to more, discourse on the matter. But it seems like she doesn't really want to be there. And who knows, maybe she was actually upset today that she wasn't voted out of office because personally, I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Yeah. Well, so if she had been voted out with the no confidence vote, then Brexit would have died at that point.
Yeah.
Which is really, it defeats the whole purpose of why they had the vote in the first place. So it's like your government's inability to honor what the public voiced their opinion on. You're supposed to be, I guess it's a quasi-representative government. It just kind of it's self-defeating. I just don't get it.
And no matter what happens, whether or not Brexit, is passed in 6 months or a year, 2 years, or it fails, whatever the result is, no one's going to be happy with it.
Right.
Because even if a year from now, Brexit goes through, Great Britain is, removes themselves from the European Union, the last few years, like leading up to this, has already put a bad taste in a lot of UKers' mouths, and so it's just whatever the result is, it's not going to be a positive one, at least.
Right. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Any other closing thoughts? Anything else we want to share with our listeners?
What do you guys got?
I mean, a Google hearing, but I feel like we don't have enough time to talk about that in depth.
Well, bring it up.
All right, so
teaser for next week.
Right now, Google is being questioned by Congress for potentially, or they're being accused of censoring Republican media or media that is slanted towards Republican view. So Congress people have questioned the CEO today, and I think it was going on yesterday as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's kind of an interesting whole situation with the Google has these algorithms which Congress is concerned about that yields different results depending upon what your political question is. So that's the thrust of why they had this gentleman come on Capitol Hill.
Well, the thing is, I think it's like 90% of people use Google as their search engine. And that's because Google does such a great job of giving people results that they want. So one thing to take into consideration too is if I look up something on my phone, it's going to be different than what you see on your phone. It's based upon partially like what you've previously searched for. So for example, I frequently look at CNN. I look at CNN more often than I look at Fox. So if I Google something, I'm going to see CNN before I see Fox, whereas you or somebody else may see Fox before they see CNN. So it's dependent on the individual person too. There's a lot more that goes into the algorithms. It's not like somebody's sitting at Google headquarters deciding what they're going to censor. And I feel like the way the Congress men and women questioned the CEO of Google was not very productive either. A lot of their questions were not very well. They weren't knowledge based. They were kind of just like I don't even know. So I'm just really disappointed in the committees they selected to question the CEO as well.
Yeah, it seems like they didn't do their job on their end, actually getting informed on the topic.
No, one of the I think it was Steve King he asked the CEO why on his iPhone his 7-year-old granddaughter saw an image of him with like derogatory terms. But the CEO of Google said, we don't own iPhone, and everybody was like laughing. But just a lack of, I guess, like it's just injurious, honestly, on their part. And I feel like the hearing could have gone a lot better. But
Yeah, they probably should have had some IT people consulting on the
Right.
committee. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Not Martin County IT people,
No.
though.
Hey.
Yeah, well, we could send the Martin County IT people up there. It's kind of cold up there. It might be kind of like, the Russians sending you to Siberia, right?
It accidentally shut down Google.
Okay. All right, and we'll be right back next week.
Thursday. Yep.
Yes. So stick with us and look forward to, once again, we get a chance to talk about local, state, and national, and sometimes global issues.
It's just what we do
All right, right here on Treasure Coast Forum.
every week.
Good night, everyone.